Right, hopefully you can hear and see me, and hopefully the fan isn't too loud in the background. It's like 30 degrees. Yeah, it's actually 29.8 degrees in my room, so it is fucking 30 degrees, isn't it? And, you know, with the fan on, I'm just literally sweating like a pig. At least with the fan on, it sweat evaporates, actually cools you down. And later on, I'll put the aircon on. I won't do that on stream, it'll be even louder. But I thought, let's do a political stream because, you know, weirdly, recently, when we've had political streams, they've been actually sometimes more civilized than normal streams. So I thought, because there's all the coronavirus stuff going on, there's all the, you know, Black Lives Matter type things going on at the moment. Yeah, I am early. You know, there's all other sorts of stuff going on. So hello, everybody. So yeah, your mother, your parcel's on your way to you. I've not checked on the tracking app yet to see if it's moving yet, but... Right, Chaz is the thing I can't answer much about. That got asked a bit recently. It was, all right, AJ. Chaz is that autonomous zone, isn't it? In wherever it was, I can't even remember. In the US, but wasn't there a thing the other day where somebody got shot there or something, and then because they said we don't want the help of like police and ambulances, they were then complaining that like the police and ambulance wouldn't go to help them. Right, the thing is, Thomas, with a pandemic going around, if the scientists say it's safer for everybody to wear a mask in certain areas, I think you should do it just for a safety rule, you know. But yeah, there was actually some riots sort of in London last night, apparently. There was like some sort of illegal rave or block party or something, and when the police went in to break it up, the police got attacked, the police got chased away, and then the police were supposedly claiming they broke it up. Like, no, you didn't. Your officers ran away. But yeah, if anyone wants to know what I'm drinking tonight, when I went to post a parcel to your mother, that's not a euphemism, I actually sent them a parcel, they had beer on offer in the post office, so I bought some for myself. So Cobra, and the other one I haven't started yet is a Tiger. So it was, I think, 2 for £4, and these are like more than a pint, these Indian beers. So, oh, you've moved house, Keaton, that's nice. I'm still stuck here in this, yeah. Right, abortion. Right, this is going to get quite political quite fast, isn't it? So let me top my beer up, and then we'll get into it. Ultimately, I think it's a woman's body, her choice, but really abortion should be done with both the parents' consent. If that makes sense. So, you know, especially in a situation where the father might want a child, the mother might not, you know, or vice versa. I think it should be more of a consent thing, but I think it should stand in the end down to a woman because it's essentially her body the baby's growing in. Now, I definitely don't think abortion should be used as an alternative to contraception. You know, if you've got the option of using a pill or using a condom, use the fucking pill or a condom. Don't decide to abort a baby later down the line. But, you know, that's my opinion on it. But I think in situations, especially where if a woman's been raped, you know, she should be allowed an abortion, no question about it. Countries that don't let them have that, you know, are fucked up. You know, if a woman's life is in danger if she gives birth, or there might be serious, you know, consequences, the baby might be severely disabled or die, you know, and they know that from earlier on. I don't really understand why people would have a problem with it. All right, Vladimir. But yeah, this is yeah, this might be an interesting political stream, but the thing is, I think people like politics streams, because if I do politics streams, especially if I have beer in me, then I'm generally quite honest about my beliefs. But yeah, I suppose there is always that, AJ. I know that's a pretty controversial thing to say after the fact, but yeah, in terms of contraception, there are ways you can procreate. Well, not procreate, because that creates children, but there are ways you can enjoy the pleasures of the flesh without actually putting penis in vagina. But they have words like fellatio, if you want to use a fancy Italian sounding word, or sodomy, you know, if you want to use an old fashioned term that, you know, is an insult, but, you know, like I said, isn't that, I think I'm quoting Hellraiser though when I say that. Isn't that something like Hellraiser? Something like pleasure or sins of the flesh? I don't know, but right. The N-word, here we go. I'm not going to say it for obvious reasons. I generally think it's a racial slur. It's pretty horrible. I don't really get the idea that if somebody from a victimized group uses a racial slur themselves, then it's okay because it's an empowerment thing. I never really get that. But, you know, racial slurs, I was always brought up even as a kid, you know, you never say stuff like that because it's a really horrible thing. You know, same as using certain words to describe people with certain disabilities, you know. Well, cigarettes can be a political thing, Mr. Jackpot, you know, because, you know, in reality, lots of countries want to get rid of people's right to, you know, smoke or endanger themselves. But the thing is, like I've said, with all these things, you get people's opinion where sometimes religion is involved. Sometimes, you know, other political point scoring is involved. Right, death sentences. I think the death sentence should still be a valid thing if you can 100%, you know, like forensically and everything, prove that somebody is guilty of a really bad offense, you know, like multiple murders, things like that. You certainly, I don't think, should ever apply the death penalty when there is any sort of question at all, you know. But when you have the death penalty, for the same reason, you shouldn't keep people on death row for like 30 years. Because I do not understand the American system in some states, where I assume it's because of a load of appeals and how long they get for the appeal of things. That, you know, somebody could be obviously guilty. You know, you can have so many serial like rapists and killers that go around raping and killing, you know, like men and women, torturing people as well. They get caught. They know they've done it. You know, they're sentenced to death, but they can sit on death row for, you know, like costing the taxpayer loads of money. And, you know, it's just a stupid system. You know, if you know they're guilty and a reasonable appeal period has passed, you know, kill them. All right, VL, interestingly, I'm drinking Cobra beer tonight, which I think is Indian, isn't it? But they had the Indian beers on special offer, like the pale ales and things like that in the shop earlier. That's... Right, Peppy the Frog. I don't think any group of people should be labelled as inherently racist, just as any religion shouldn't, you know, be labelled as inherently, you know, any bad things applied to certain religions. I think it should be more come down to the choice of individual, because if you're going to expect, you know, accept responsibility and say that if an individual, you know, somebody shouldn't, and this is the opinion I hold, that somebody shouldn't be judged on the colour of their skin or whatever, they should be judged on the content of their character. If you're taking that appeal, you also shouldn't say that, you know, like, for example, all white people are racist, you know. I think people should certainly take the time to educate themselves and try and move forwards, because, you know, I certainly think in the past I've probably said things that are offensive and I now regret, you know, and I'm sure in the future I think, oh, I said something today that I regret doing, you know. I think really asking people just to improve their character as much as possible and become less judgmental, you know, and critically think, you know. All right, AK-47, hope you have a safe flight when you have your flight. Flying anywhere interesting? I have tried a few Polish beers, but not enough for my liking, Simon. When I was in Poland, I had one that was like 8%. It was bloody good. It was really dark, the colour of it. It was a bit like, you know, when you have Belgian beers and it's like a really dark sort of brun colour, or the brown sort of beers. That was really good, but I don't know what it was. I don't think you can get it in supermarkets over here. Do you mean a shandy, Keaton? I've had lots of different alcohol combinations, but generally at the moment I prefer just strong beer, you know, ale, spirits, mead. Mead's the thing I drink the most, actually, because I find it doesn't irritate my stomach very much, and it's, you know, that sort of percentage of wine where you can get shit-faced on it pretty quickly, but if you time it right, it gets you just on the right side of being, you know. Second Amendment, Peppy the Frog. You might, if you're not, I don't know if you're new to my channel or not, but you probably know I'm quite a big fan of the right to bear arms, especially in America, because obviously it's part of the US Constitution, and I certainly don't think with America you should start saying, right, we need to ban this, we need to ban that, because times have moved on. It's like it's part of the Constitution. So yeah, the thing is, with the Second Amendment, I don't know if you could apply it to other countries. This is the thing I try and always bring a caveat to it with. Like in Britain, I don't know if you could suddenly say you can buy any semi-automatic rifle you want, you know, or any pistol you want. I think that would end in disaster. But in America, the Second Amendment certainly shouldn't be gotten away with because, you know, in the sense of gotten rid of, because the argument not all they were referring to muskets is stupid, you know, because it was basically saying that the people could be as well armed as basically soldiers to fight tyranny. But well, the guns thing I was just answering, Philip. Canada, what about Canada? The Canadian leader, Trudeau, Canada as a country. Yes, I am in the UK. I'm in England, to be specific. I must have missed your previous question, VL. What was your previous question? Oh, what about the Chinese constitution? What's the Me Too movement, Casper? Is that the thing about women being like sexually assaulted across like various media things? I mean, obviously, it's bad if women are sexually exploited or sexually assaulted, you know, things like that. All right, IRA. Oh, here we go. Right. Terror groups are generally scummy. I know you get people fighting for what they believe in and all stuff like that, but if you're blowing up innocent people potentially, you know, that's a pretty scummy thing. Because basically, as I've said quite a few times, peaceful protests, you know, if you had as many Catholic people as you wanted or non-Catholics protesting against, you know, the Union in Northern Ireland or mainland UK or Republic of Ireland, whatever, that's absolutely fine. You know, blowing up innocent people, you know, and all that sort of stuff, you know, and the same goes for, as well as the IRA, obviously, you had things like the UVF, didn't you? You know, because, what was I saying about stuff like, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. So if you've got two terrorist groups blowing up innocent people, it doesn't make one just and one, you know, bad. They're both bad. Arctic Sniper, but if you work as a security guard in Finland, you are allowed pepper spray, aren't you? Because I swear one of my subscribers who now and again comes on, if I can't remember his name, but he's a Finnish bloke, and he works as a security guard in Helsinki, if I remember right, or it might have been another city if it wasn't Helsinki, and I swear he said he had pepper spray because he's had to use it before. Yeah, I think, Rashab, it's definitely one of those things, isn't it, of treating a symptom, not the cause of an illness. The thing is, people can think the IRA were right, Dano, but I just disagree with them. Well, the thing is, NATO is certainly not needed anymore, Rambo, in the sense that NATO was set up, you know, at the same time the Warsaw Pact was, and it was for two of the superpowers to have their kind of mutual defense pacts. It's not needed anymore. You know, because the Warsaw Pact doesn't exist, I don't really see NATO, you know, needing to exist. And I don't mean that in the Trump sense, but I think Trump has a point as well. And there's lots of nations that want to be NATO members for the benefits, but don't want to pay the NATO bill as well. Right, Justin Vapor. I definitely think, you know, people have the right to free speech. I think there definitely should be caveats to that in the sense of, you know, when people are being deliberately as, you know, threatening as possible. And I think even in America, if you threaten to kill somebody, you're not covered under the rights of free speech, are you? Because it's considered a threat, not free speech. Oh, that's excellent, Tuna Bridge. With some of these questions, because they're coming in so fast and I want to answer them properly, I might not get a chance to answer all of them, so I'll try and go back to them, but I'll try and answer like each question as fully as possible. But the thing is, I really don't understand the mentality of saying this offends me, therefore we should ban it. You know, I personally take the opinion that, you know, people insult me online, I just don't seek out their opinion, you know. I mean, if they were threatening to kill me, dox me, and, well, or they have, you know, all that sort of stuff, then it's, you know, then it's a bit of a different thing. But as I said, people have a right to say, I think Liam's a prick and I don't like the videos he makes. They're perfectly entitled to say that, you know. But, you know, I think it really depends, like I was saying about all these sort of things of being offended, where do you draw the line? And I think it's a very difficult, you know, slippery slope. And I know slippery slope is often considered a logical fallacy, but I think in a lot of places it does apply, where you say, right, if we're going to take one step, then you say, right, we'll take another step. You know, you have to be very careful. Where does it end? You know, if you're essentially saying, let's take more and more and more steps. I would definitely general grievance in the sense that a company might say, you said a certain thing, therefore we don't want to employ you. You know, I don't blame companies for that at all, but I don't recognise the name Pepe the Frog. Was that a famous person? If it's a famous person, I'm not going to be very clued up on it, I'm afraid, especially if it's a celebrity. Rishab says, right, I'm probably going to, unfortunately, horribly pronounce this, Mauritius. He said, due to the lack of free speech, I'm pretty sure that burning, destroying a flag is illegal and it's considered an act of rebellion, although I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, cancel culture, I really don't like the idea of. Basically, cancel culture, from what I understand, is when basically people want more and more stuff removed because a celebrity in it later did a bad thing, or it's not considered with the times. So basically, a good example was recently with all the Black Lives Matter things in the UK. We had a lot of channels or hosting services take down comedy shows because, they had an actor in blackface or they did something that was seen as racist. Although, in general, when I look at a lot of those things, I think you're meant to be laughing at the person with the racist sort of views. It's saying, aren't they backwards? Aren't they stupid? It's not saying, isn't it funny that they have these views? I think it's saying, aren't they a backwards person? But the problem of cancel culture, again, is this slippery slope thing. It kind of, I think, turns into whitewashing history. You can't get a very good idea of certain times in history if everything is edited or deleted. See, that's really stupid, AJ, especially if it's... What I really cannot understand is when it's on a completely different platform and, a completely different time period. So, if you fired a TV presenter today because he'd said something 10 years ago on a different channel show, it's like, why? It has nothing to do, I hope... Is he actually suing Straight Six? Because he did the video asking what he should do, and I said he should take him to court. Oh, why'd you have to shut it down, AJ? That's a shame. Was that down to, an article in it? Or what? Or, coronavirus? Or financial stuff? That's a real shame. But hope you're doing all right anyway, but... Right, as I was saying before, Count Dankula should never have got into trouble at all for the pug thing. Because the thing is, you even had Jewish people, didn't you, saying, why is he getting arrested for this? It's clearly a joke. But then, all the hate speech things. I know he was back. I was letting the mods deal with it and ignoring him. Because, I've got far more interesting things to talk about with people than the political rights to hair length. Well, is there such a thing as court of public opinion? Because obviously court of laws are actual things. Public opinion is just public opinion. I think people should really vote or petition if they want to change something. What have they done to Uncle Ben's rice, Oliver? Have they banned Uncle Ben from the packet? Have they had to rename it? That's a real shame, AJ, but I think I agree on that it shouldn't really, But, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like I said, I completely don't agree with rewriting history or, it's like you've made the choice you want to make and good for you for making it. But I certainly, it's one of those things that, So what's on the packaging instead of Uncle Ben? Is it just a picture of rice now? Yes, Vial, I certainly agree that... Well, I certainly think it's very authoritarian. Whether you want to call it communist, I don't know. I mean, depends what you're referring to. But you certainly... it's certainly, I think people who are pro-liberty would never want, to start whitewashing history. Yeah, well, that's the thing, AJ. Lots of people have said to me, thank fuck they grew up in a generation. They might not use the word thank fuck, where everybody had a camera or everybody had a phone, Because, yeah, I mean, people in my parents' generation, there's pretty much no record that they've said or done something stupid, like basically the same I feel about most religions, RC guy, that if you're a peaceful person that just follows the religion, I have absolutely no problem with you. If you commit terrorist acts and hurt or kill people because of your religion, or use your religion as an excuse to do that, you're a scumbag, pretty much. You know, and that's the same way I feel about Christians, even though I pretty much consider myself a Christian. You know, I don't think you should ever be able to use religion as an excuse to do something, you know. Yeah, exactly, Daniel Webster. That's my opinion on it. I don't even know this person, Arctic Sniper X. Oh, thank you very much, Lucas. Long time no see. How are you? I'm all right, thank you. I mean, obviously all the corona lockdown stuff's dragging on. Most of us don't know if we'll have jobs to go back to and all the stuff like that. But thank you very much, Lucas. Are you all right? I don't know what you've missed of excitement on the channel, because I don't know when you last commented. This, again, T34, what I think is probably going on here is lots of companies are saying, oh shit, we better try and pretend that we're really in with all the people, you know. Does that make sense? That's what I think a lot of companies are doing. So it's kind of, I think it's a sort of a form of virtual signaling and damage reduction. Well, here's the thing, is I don't mind doing YouTube stuff, but I find YouTube does get a bit draining if you're doing it every day, day after day, day after day. You know, I suppose if I didn't have another job to do, it'd be a different thing. But at the moment, I suppose it's more balancing out, working out what you're going to do with finances and everything else, you know, based on, you know, and what's going to happen with the economy in the future. Are there any real fascists left today, Ante? In the sense of, right, in the sense I mean that when I think of fascism, I generally think of Benito Mussolini, Oswald Mosley, you know, the people from that period in history that would call themselves fascists, and they had a specific ideology. The problem I have with people using the word fascist today is it's generally just meant as an insult, and it doesn't even necessarily even mean authoritarian, does it, a lot of the time when fascist thrown around. So, because here's the thing, that are there any modern day fascists? I'm sure there are. There are people that still agree with it. It seems to me to be more one of those dead ideologies that, you know, you certainly get a lot of neo-Nazis, I guess, or at least ones online. Whether or not you get as many in reality, I don't know. You know, and you get a lot of people that think Karl Marx was great and all the communist stuff was great, but I don't know if you ever have that many people talk about Benito Mussolini anymore or any of those. Yeah, that's my point, Green Man. That's the issue with things like fascism, is it's quite hard to pin down when people use the word what exactly they mean by it. Right. My opinion on socialism, Ante, is it depends how far you take it. I think the idea that certain products should be taxed and tax money is used to make things better for people worst off in society is a fundamentally good idea. It's how much socialism you have and how much, you know, it links to authoritarianism. Yeah, but the problem is, what did Mussolini do after that? He threw his weight in with Hitler. He made a lot of mistakes and, you know, left Italy in a pretty bad state, didn't he? I mean, but saying that, I suppose Italy was probably financed a lot, wasn't it, after the Second World War? But yeah, I'd rather not spend the entire political stream debating whether or not fascists are fascists, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Because I find talking about general politics a bit more interesting, that and like what's going on at the moment with headlines. But yeah, this is the thing. I am the typer. It's hard to like I've said before, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of shit for this, but I'm going to literally say it, that like I think Nazism is fucking awful, right? With people like Adolf Hitler and that. But when it comes to communism and fascism, the fascist regimes, if we think like Franco, Mussolini, I'm trying to think of some of the others, like, because there weren't that many that actually remained in power. They probably did a lot less damage per leader, but that doesn't mean I'd want to live under one of those things. Because a lot of people take that horribly out of context and say that means I love fascism. It really doesn't mean that. It just means I think most of these authoritarian systems are pretty awful. But I mean, choosing between them, it's picking a poison, isn't it? But didn't Pinochet not even consider himself a fascist? I certainly think there will be riots if people don't have jobs to go back to, James, and then like the furlough money starts running out. But this is the problem, saying this is why I don't want the entire stream to be that, is somebody will say a historical leader, some say, oh, they were fascist or communist, and then other people say, no, they weren't. I'd rather not say VL just because I've had a lot of weird doxing shit go on recently, but I generally always just do blue-collar jobs when I do jobs. Well, Shubble, do I support killing people based on their political beliefs? If that's the question you're asking me, the answer is definitely no. I think people should basically be educated, and then you'd hope that if people had a good education on things, most people wouldn't go to extremism. But generally, I find a lot of people that seem to have extremist ideas tend to have been, a bit like how people turn into serial killers, potentially because of like childhood sexual abuse and lots of other factors, And while there's no excuse for them being serial killers, I think it's kind of a thing like that with a lot of people who become political extremists, have a lot of bad shit happen to them. And then they kind of get into this echo chamber of a certain political ideology where they're told everything about this ideology is good and it would fix all their problems. But we've already had that question, RC Guy, so as I don't want to spend 5-10 minutes repeating same points we've had earlier, I'd ask you to rewatch the stream later on. Well, I'll say something about climate change now, just because it's apparently been one of the hottest years, or June? Yes, June at the moment, isn't it? I think it's either the hottest June or hottest year on record so far in the Arctic Circle. And the permafrost is melting in certain bits now, causing like damage to actual like monitoring stations. But here's the thing. See, people are arguing, is Antifa good or bad? And, stuff like that. I'm going to let people do that in this thing. As long as they don't say, racist abuse to each other, I don't mind. But as I've said, I think the idea of violence against somebody based on political opinions is a pretty extreme thing. But then if it was people of, extremist ideologies killing each other, I don't think most regular people would mind. If you think back to 1930s Germany, whenever it was, of the brown shirts and, the commies all beating each other up, when it's people like that beating each other up because they're like fringe extremist groups, I don't think it's so much of a problem. When it comes down to, people being beaten up because a group decides randomly that, you're not the right ideology, this is where it gets really worrying. And it's also why I don't think, it's very healthy to think extremist groups can be very good, Anyway, let's look at something in the news, and we'll talk about the politics of something in the news before this turns into another 30 minutes of fascism. Sort of on that, Rebecca Long Bailey has been sacked from the Labour Party in the UK for anti-Semitism. Now, the reason that I find this quite interesting is, for those of you who aren't in the UK or don't follow UK politics at all, for the last few years, Labour lost lots of support because they were openly, or I wouldn't necessarily openly quite anti-Semitic, but people who are anti-Semitic in the party never really got in trouble for it. So, blaming Jews became sort of a thing with Labour. So what ended up happening is the new leader of the Labour Party was voted in to replace Corbyn, Keir Starmer. He basically said when he was running to be the leader that he would basically stamp out anti-Semitism in the party and he would not let it go on. And then she linked something that somehow blamed Israel, apparently, for George Floyd being killed in America. And he sacked her for it. And this is the thing, as much as we were saying earlier about cancel culture, I think if Keir Starmer says, I'm going to do this job when I get appointed, and he does that, Yeah, this is the thing, Oliver, and this is why it really annoys me when people get into this left-right kind of argument over racism, not just seeing all racism is bad, and stuff like that. If that makes sense, because it seems really horrible and weird where people will turn a blind eye if something racist or horrible happens because people of their political ideology or, their political friends are doing it. I think Rambo, definitely more than 100 million people were killed under communism, and millions were killed under National Socialism as in Nazism as well, World War II as a result of that. But that's why I'm saying none of these ideologies are good. You shouldn't be going, wow, if this ideology killed 50 million people, this one killed 100 million, this one killed 70 million, this one killed 20 million. Oh, these sound great. Which shall I choose? It's maybe you should avoid these things, Wow, James, I'm just looking at history and how history might repeat itself. I think we are going to have quite a serious economic depression. Yes, Rishab, as I said before, I think it's completely idiotic to say any group of people can't be racist. Because if they're directing any sort of hatred to people based on, like religion or skin color or whatever, it's racism, And I think we were having a discussion the other day, weren't we? Or I was certainly discussing it with some people when people having to go at Priti Patel for what she said about racial abuse she received, and people saying, oh, but it's not the same if an Indian woman or whatever gets racial abuse. That's different than if a black man or black woman gets racial abuse. It's like, no, racial abuse is still racial abuse. Well, yes, General Grievous, this is part of my point. I think if you have stuff on both sides that's not going checked, and it's not dealt with in a proper way, it does lead to a pendulum of, violence and, counter forces. And one of the people I really like listening to on the news, on LBC, is Majid Nawaz. And I really don't want to sum him up incorrectly if I do this, but I think the TLDR is he's like an ex-Muslim extremist, isn't he? And what he does a lot of is trying to basically understand why people have extremist ideologies and how we work to get people away from, extremist ideologies. And one of the things he basically says is lots of people who are Muslim extremists potentially have, general real grievances why they've had, become extremists. It doesn't mean being extremists is right, but they've had real grievances happen to them that, might turn them that way. Just as some people might have turned far right because they've seen the grooming gang things going on, and other stuff like that. Does that make sense? So that's one of the reasons I like him, because I think he makes a lot of sense at bridging stuff to be about, listening to people and then, airing ideas and working out, what should be done about stuff. Here's the thing, God, talking about the US election, because this is a politics stream. As much as Trump can do everything wrong at the moment, I reckon he still might get voted in. I've never even heard of it, Pepe de Franck. What is it? Majid is a lot more balanced than James O'Brien, Oliver. Sometimes I'll listen to James O'Brien, but yeah, Majid is definitely somebody who seems to be, he could politically definitely be in a lot of disagreements with me, but he still seems to be somebody who completely respects other people's opinions as long as they're not going to use violence. Well, I voted Brexit in the EU referendum, a person. I'm not ashamed to admit that, because apparently that's not something you're meant to say. But I think part of the problem with Brexit, though, is that we just didn't get around to implementing it pretty quickly. And I didn't vote for Brexit because I don't like foreigners or anything like that. It's just because I see the EU as a pretty bureaucratic mess where there's not enough, proper representation. For the Americans, an easy understanding of what the EU would be is, say you've got the US government and every state had rights, it would be basically like more and more state rights being eroded for like this kind of amalgamation of government where even the people in government then aren't really elected because they're just kind of people who pick other people. Yeah, I can agree with you there, Rashab. The thing is, I quite liked him in 2016, as much as he said things I wouldn't have agreed with. I definitely wanted him to win over Hillary. But the problem is, I was hoping he was kind of going to be a bit, run his mouth a bit when he was running for office. And then I was hoping once he got in, he was going to be, a lot more let's make America not a foreign intervention power. Let's focus on getting Americans doing American jobs, that kind of thing, to just try and make America better, and then fuck with the rest of the world a bit less. I've never been to Croatia, but I have nothing against Croatia. I've got nothing against Serbia, nothing against Bosnia, as I've said before. I don't really see how you can generalize a country, Right, I'm going to have some more beer and give my throat a rest, and I'll see if any good questions come in for me to answer. Let's see, I'm the type. Have a good evening. Here's the thing. Because I'm in England, I don't really have an opinion on it. If people in Ireland wanted it, good for them. It's the same with Scottish independence or Welsh independence or whatever else. The problem is, it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it? Because even if you said to me, like, Liam, you're English, you've got no vote on this. It's up to people in Ireland and Northern Ireland to vote, or, Scotland to vote. It's never that simple, because the votes don't work out like that, because there's people with, conflicting opinions on both sides. And especially what I hate is when stuff like that gets politicized and people, like, start saying you need to be forced to choose a side. It's like, well, really, I just don't care, Yeah, I've had Kingfisher before, Justin Vapor. I'll definitely have some again. It was just, I got the Cobra today and the Tiger beer, because they were the ones that were on offer in the drinks cabinet when I was sending a parcel. And I looked over and go, I'm going to go and queue up in this 2-meter social distancing queue again now to get some beer. If you're saying how long am I going to be on live for, I've been on 36 minutes. I'll stay on another half an hour. Oh, yeah, same about that. I didn't see what he said where you responded to him stealing Welsh PPE, but yeah, I have understood that the Tories have been fucking Tories recently, stealing PPE. Like, oh, we need to distribute it. Oh, we're going to take the best stuff. When really it's the government's own fault, isn't it, for fucking up the PPE in the first place. Right, God, I've not been following it much, but there's been deaths on the border, hasn't there? So, I mean, in just a human sense, I really hope people won't kill each other, and I really hope Indians and Chinese alike are not killed over a border dispute. But it could escalate into something quite serious. Let's hope it doesn't. But, my personal opinion is that, as a person, I hope normal, regular people do not get killed, but... No, I've not tried Mythos beer. Let me Google it. I know it's nothing to do with politics, but I want to know what Mythos beer is, and can I get it where I am? So Mythos is a Greek beer brand created in 1997. Since 2015, it is being produced by Olympic Brewery, a subsidiary of Carlsberg Group. 5% volume, so not a bad volume. It's a lager. According to one site, it has a rating of 1 star, but it's only got 1 review, so that doesn't mean anything. And then on Tesco's, it's got a rating of 5 stars across 4 reviews. How much is it in Tesco's? Oh, sorry, this product is currently unavailable. I can buy it on Amazon, but that'd be really overpriced. Yeah, it would be 65 quid for a crate of 12 on Amazon. I wouldn't do that. But it'd be one of those things, if I see it when it's wow price of other beers, I'd buy it. But, there are some beers I really like for taste, like especially some bitters and things like that. Then there's also beers I like because, alcohol, yay. I drink for 2 reasons. I like the taste of beer now. It's an acquired taste, especially when you hear kids go, oh, beer tastes yucky. It's like, no, you grow to like it. But yeah, like I said, I don't know enough about with the Indian-China situation at the moment. Who has historical claims over what, who started it, who has more right to the land or anything like that. I'm not getting involved in that, I just really hope blows don't come to it. But, if they do, I'd be very worried because both are nuclear-armed nations. I don't know, AJ. I did say on the group chat, but you said you wanted to be a mod, didn't you? Anyway, AJ, and you've been around long enough. And if you don't have your magazine anymore, if you want to be a moderator on here, you'll find that there's fuck all in the way of pay, but if it makes you feel any better, there you go. You don't have to use your mod tools if you don't want to, but I don't know. I said to Richard and Peach and Mike I was going to do a stream at 8, but maybe it's because I said it was a politics stream. They thought, right, fuck watching that then. I know, but you said the other day and I remembered. Here's the thing, politics streams, right? Lots of people that regularly watch my videos but aren't really the regulars really like politics streams. Lots of my regular people I chat with on YouTube hate politics. Basically, they just don't want to talk about it. You know, it's on the news, it's happening, you know, let's have some escapism from it. The thing is, I like to talk about it now and again, because I'd like people to honestly know what my opinions are on things, rather than people saying, oh, you're a neo-Nazi, because weirdly, I get called that a lot, you know. And a lot of it is obviously bollocks, but, you know, I would like to basically honestly say, here's my opinions, take from them what you will, rather than, don't spam the chat. Well, what the person was saying a bit up there, sorry, I missed some of your comment because the person's spamming a chat. But here's the thing. If you have only a two-party state, you know, where only one or two parties can ever be voted in, I don't think that's very healthy for democracy. I think proportional representation, or, you know, ideas like that are much better, where you essentially just vote for the party you think reflects your interest best, you know, and then you have governments made up of various seats. Now, I know the problem with that is if you get a really split sort of parliament, you can get nothing go forwards because everybody argues with each other. But then again, you can get hung parliaments even in a two-party state if it's basically exactly 50-50. We'll do that on other streams, Joe Mom. It's just most of the time that is what we talk about. And today I wanted to do a political stream. I suppose, yeah, the YouTube algorithm might like it if I now and again talk about these and get lots of views in. I'm not appointing any more mods for now. I think Keaton asked if he could have been a mod a while ago, and I said maybe, but for now I'm not. Lager is a type of beer. You know, you get lager, bitter. Lager is a type of beer. Yeah, that's all right, God. I'm glad you like it, God. Oh, I like Abbott 5% ale. Where can you get that then? Justin Vapor. Where can you get Abbott Reserve? Can you get it in cans or bottles like the regular Abbott ale? If it's just stronger Abbott ale, yes, please. Sorry, it was I am everywhere, you pathetic mortal. I'll read it out in a, although it looks like a Shrek picture, I'll read it out in kind of like a Dawn of War chaos voice. I am everywhere, you pathetic mortal. He said, anyone hear of Chaz? I think they changed their name. Like, yeah, people were saying about that earlier. The thing is, in the UK, Chaz isn't really something that's talked about a lot over here. Well, Cronenberg 1664, BB. Yeah, we definitely should have an alcohol stream. How much that would be violating YouTube guidelines, I don't know, if we're literally talking about alcohol for an entire stream. But, you know, I like alcohol. Only one or two, Robert. This is the weird thing. The political stream has been far more calm and nicely discussed than some of the regular streams. Sadly, there is not a Morrison's near me. Oh, you won't be on Twitch tonight, but Mike's on now, so he's turned up just to have another 20 minutes of a political stream. My favourite beer, that's a good question. The best fucking beer I've ever had is either Delirium or Guillotine. Both of them are Belgian beers, but they're very hard to get here. Sometimes Bart's parents go on holiday to Belgium or France, and they always bring them back. Those are fucking excellent. You know, like Left. The closest thing I can say that you can get in supermarkets is Left to them. But they're like stronger alcohol percent than Left, you know, and they're the giant bottles. So it's pretty much like a hard night on, you know, anything if you have a bottle of those. But they're fucking excellent. But sadly, you can't get them here. But or, you know, you can't get them without paying ludicrous prices for them where they're not worth it. Joe Mama says, I don't know if this is political, but he says, unpopular opinion, he says the Pasca helmet is greatest of all time. Future revisions on the design have been steps backwards. Well, the ACH is actually better ballistically rated, but I do like the chunky old Pasca look. Anyway, what I will do is I'll open a tab and I'll show you what this beer is, so you can actually... if you ever see it for sale, you know what it is. Oh, you can get it for £3.45 here, but it's at the full size bottle, 33 centilitres. That's 330 milliliters. Oh, that's the fucking tiny size of it. I like it when it's in like the nearly litre size bottles. I'm seeing if I can find like the proper big size of it. Right, this is the type I've had. Let me link this. Delirium, I think, is the same brewery. It's just a slightly different taste thing. I can't remember off the top of my head. I said probably more hoppy, but it's hard to say without drinking it again. But I really liked it. That's the point. I quit smoking Andrew Jones. I still vape now and again. I chew nicotine gum now and again. The more lockdown drags on, the more and more I want to start smoking actual tobacco again, but I've resisted the urge so far. I got the Nerf darts back from the other stream, but I won't shoot them again this stream. Yeah, as Newt says, I don't want to talk shit about any prepper channels, but the problem is with prepper channels is a lot of them get sent stuff to review. And if you're a prepper channel and you don't normally talk about gas masks, and you get sent a really nice fancy gas mask, you probably are going to go, wow, this is the bee's knees. This is amazing, aren't you? Whereas when you get channels that regularly look at gas masks, they end up kind of being a bit more qualified to go, hang on, there's a bit of a problem here. Other than a couple of like vests which have like, you know, magazine pouches and stuff on, not really. Marty, don't you know I used to smoke a pipe? I don't know if I have any pipe tobacco left, but in this drawer I've probably still got the pipes themselves. See, there's one. You might be able to see appropriately got a chewed enough end there. You can see I actually used it. Oh, it still has a bit of that flavour. Fuck me, I shouldn't have done that. You can still taste it. Oh, fucking hell! That's like a heroin addict being given heroin again, I guess, after going clean for like 10 years. Where's my torch? I'm not going to light it fucking up in the house. No, that's not bright enough. I was just going to show. Not sure where the other torch was, but if I get my super bright torch, ooh, there we go. And then I need to turn it down a setting, and then even then it's still too bright. Yeah, you can see it's pretty charred on the inside as well, but right. In my opinion, as somebody, although I was never a really heavy smoker, as somebody who smoked before I quit, cigarettes, cigarillos, cigars, and pipe tobacco, obviously, although each of them are going to vary a bit by brand and that. Pipes are by far the best tasting because it cools the smoke down a bit by the time it gets to your mouth, so it's less irritating. With pipe tobacco, you're meant to hold it in your mouth like cigar smoke. You don't actually take it down and blow it out. So there's less risks. It's still risky, obviously, but you're mostly going to develop oral cancers, not oral throat and lung cancers like you would with cigarettes. But it's just way, way better tasting tobacco. But yeah, but the point is, like I said, it's going back in the drawer now. I've got this if ever but I think something about pipe smoking is more the ritual of smoking it, not actually the nicotine. All right, glow in the dark. But yeah, I think it's just pipe smoking is just a very comfy feeling thing. You've got your old, pipe. You've got this lovely, lovely smelling tobacco. Not when it's burnt and gone stale, but the actual raisiny smell of the tobacco in the tin, and when it's burning, it's got that fresh kind of smell. There's never been any proof of that. I think if you use shitty, really low quality e-liquids, there could be lung damage done for sure. But there's never been any actual proof of it. And if there's something where we know one thing is really bad for you, and then there's something else where you have to look pretty hard to try and find evidence that it might be bad for you, I know which one I'd rather pick of the two. Fuck off, that sounds like a crime VL destroying a pipe. Why shouldn't I? What type have you got glow in the dark? Not that I'm obviously going to smoke anything after this stream, but so it's been 3 years, has it? What year did I quit smoking? But anyway, the point is it's been quite a long time. But what type of cigar is it? Like a proper Cuban one, or another brand of like proper machine rolled or hand rolled cigar, or something like a Hamlet or one of those? We're off the subject of politics now. We're on to cigars. I suppose Winston Churchill smoked cigars. King Edwards. I think I've had some King Edwards before. Let me look at the packaging. They're more popular in the States, though, aren't they, than in the UK? Yeah, I think they have them in a few places here, but I think they're more popular in the States. The one, Henry Winterman's were like the fairly strong, like small cigars you could get in the UK. Obviously, you know better than me, obviously, if you're from the UK and older than me, but... But yeah, for me, I've just found... Yeah, here's the thing, Daniel. I think some of it is personal opinion. I think some of it can irritate some people more than others. I wasn't arguing with anybody that smoking was bad for their health, but I think people should have the personal liberties. And again, this is going into politics, isn't it? Oh, yeah, Café La Creme. Oh, are there any of those left? Because I did give away a lot of my tobacco to friends when I quit. So, I was giving them counts and not myself. Oh, no. Where's one? I might have got rid of all my old cafe creams. Oh, no. If those are ones you're on about, they're Café La Cremes, aren't they? My ideal political thing, Nuke Boy, would be, as I've said before, basically mostly free markets where you can buy what you want. Obviously, one of the main things I think to be helping with things would be that, what was it? The, let me smell this. One of the things is pipe tobacco definitely smells better than cigars. These always have a slightly dungy smell. I know some people like that, but yeah, cigarillos and cigars, I definitely prefer the smell of pipe tobacco to them. But anyway, where was I getting on before I got distracted talking about something to do with things? Is I think there should be some basic safety nets, because if you don't have basic safety nets, you'll get people that think, what is the point in taking part in society? And you get the down and out type people, and I don't think any compassionate human being would ever think that's a good thing. So there's that. That's why I think there should at least be basic stuff, especially, like affordable housing. Because if you're in a situation like where I am in the UK, and to buy a shitty one-bedroom, like low-quality flat is like £200,000 at a minimum in a bad area, that's not good, is it? You definitely need housing at affordable prices. And then obviously if you want luxury housing, you can pay more for it. As I've said before, my idea is basically that you have a mostly free market, very little restrictions on people. But again, I think lots of nations' laws and political systems end up reflecting maybe sometimes the geography of the nation. But, if you've got a nation where, the terrain and farming standards and living space all reflect certain things, it's going to impact policies, isn't it? Yeah, glow in the dark. Was on about that earlier in the stream, that there was a bit of rioting there, and then the police were chased out because they didn't have enough people to enforce it, or enough riot police. But then the police were claiming that they'd dealt with it. It's like, no, they ran away. This is why, as much as I said, before, I think the police are a necessary thing to have. They need to be well equipped enough to do a job, How often do I stream? Most days, not necessarily every day. But most days I stream like 8 p.m. in the evening just because it's convenient time. Some days I just randomly do it at a time in the afternoon because it's convenient for other people. Yeah, here's the thing. You want the police to be well funded, but you want checks and balances to be put on the police, so basically you don't get, misconduct from the police. I'd agree with you there, glow in the dark, but, like I was saying, because you get all these people saying, like, oh, you should have no police, or, police should be able to do whatever they want. No, you need a police system, and then you need a very, good system keeping the police in check. So, only genuine, decent cops are kept on there, not people who abuse their power as police. But, thing is, I don't understand how private policing would even work other than, like, localized neighborhood watch things. And then I'd worry about what would happen if, you have a serial killer going around or whatever. Are they going to actually cooperate and share files properly? Well, supposedly Sikhs and that did it in the British Army, Mark Smith, so I assume it works to some degree. I'm sure if you've got a massive beard, it's not going to suddenly make it work with a mask, but I think it would work to a degree. That's a very good point there, Daniel. Daniel says it's more the judicial system because the police just enforce the judicial law. Well, because no police, just anarchy. But yeah, as I've said before, I'm definitely not one of those people that thinks everything from the state should be defunded or gotten rid of, because then it's pretty much Mad Max land, isn't it? I'll wait. I know that people can say, oh, there's not many examples of, like anarchy going, full anarchy being used in, countries. So that's why they can't point as an example to it. But there might be a reason for that, I'll be off in a few minutes. I've been on nearly an hour, but this has been quite a civilized stream for the most part, which is always funny when you do a politics stream and it's calmer than people randomly bringing up politics in normal streams that nobody wants to talk about. Well, the thing is, A-Truck Campbell, I definitely agree with you there. That's the thing. If you don't have a working police system, then it leads to vigilantism. Well, that might be an interesting idea, Rishad, but I don't know how practical it would be. Also, you'd have to hope you don't have much BO, because if you're like me today and it's all sweaty and you had a thing that like did up there, imagine it would have quite a horrible smell coming out the... Yeah, like I say, you like with the military as well, with the army, you need soldiers who are capable of fighting. I'm medically unfit to serve, but I don't hold that against the army, because, that's for everybody's safety. You don't want people involved in it that would have health conditions that would endanger other people. I don't think any more can come undone than this, so that's all right. I've got an interesting T-shirt I bought the other day to wear tomorrow. And I think a lot of you will like it. It's not political, though. Unless you consider the right arm of the free world to be political. Right, here's the thing, Oscar. I would say that people kind of have the right to say stuff like that. And, just as Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Asian Lives Matter, all the things like that. But I think the people doing it, if you looked into the groups that were doing it to basically cause cause distress sort of thing. Yeah, I said T, I'll probably stream tomorrow. I assume it will be the evening again tomorrow, about 8 o'clock sort of time. So same sort of time I started streaming today. But I can't guarantee that, but I'd say it's 90%. Yeah, it is a foul T-shirt, yeah. I didn't see what the thing Newt's replying to, but I'd agree. The problem is you can't have a police that's less well armed than the populace. Marty, I don't think you do. We were on about this earlier, and I think with freedom of speech, you certainly shouldn't be allowed to threaten people, like, threaten violence against them, things like that, or be able to do things like that. Yeah, shout fire where it will cause a panic and stuff like that. Again, the nice thing is this stream's been mostly civilized, because the thing is, when you do these streams, lots of people disagree, but it's nice to learn why other people have different opinions, and then maybe it makes you reconsider your own opinions, rather than people going, no, my opinion is right, your opinion is wrong, fuck off. Yeah, the thing is, Oscar, I definitely agree with you there. It's not racist to say white lives matter, and it's not racist to say black lives matter, unless you said one matters less or one matters more than whatever else. The thing is, I think it was quite distasteful, basically. I don't think, they had any right not to do it in a sense, but I think it was distasteful. Does that make sense to people? So basically, it's one of those things, I don't really approve of it, but they had the rights to do it. They exercised their rights, but I think it was a bit of a dick move. Nah, the wall's full up enough behind me, really. You'll notice that the CDV 720 isn't on there at the moment. It's because it's on the floor. Anyway, it'll be off in a few minutes. Yeah, there's arguments for them to have it, Thomas. I definitely think in a lot of ways they should be armed. The issue is that a lot of police don't want to carry guns because, I think the attitude of a lot of British police is if they had to carry guns and then they had all the responsibilities of if they had to use that gun in self-defense, it wouldn't be a job they wanted to do. Where I personally feel like, that would be part of the job. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that it's not even a clear-cut thing of the police. It's not like, politicians saying, no, you need to put your life on the line. There's no reason for you to carry. A lot of cops would basically quit if they were told they had to, carry a gun and take a lot of responsibilities of it. With how Britain works at the moment, we basically have armed police teams for certain roles, where regular beat police have like tasers and pepper spray for the most part. But well, here's the thing, Hamburger. People who have been rioting, if I was an employer and I saw that there were CCTV images that without a doubt showed that some of my workers or whatever had been out rioting, I'd fire them. Because you don't want somebody representing your company, do you, that's been out doing shit like that. And this is the thing. And you need to apply this stuff equally, because I think that would stop a lot of racism. Because as we were saying earlier, if you have all this affirmative action or whatever in one way, I think it has the effect of swinging people the other way. Let's work together to improve things for everybody, not have a victim group and Yeah, I see. AJ puts it well there. He says, "Of course, all lives matter, but white lives aren't as aren't as much at risk at the moment. You shouldn't just keep mindlessly watering your flowers if your neighbourhood's flowers are dying." All right, Glow in the Dark has given his opinion there, which I'll read out. He said, as a former armed police officer, I would definitely have shot the guy in Georgia if he fired a taser at me. So there you go. There's a proper armed police, where the British armed police officers, they're really trained, for it. That's his opinion on it, so I'll respect his opinion there. I've not actually watched the video, like the body cam video of that one. But the thing is, I think if somebody pulled a taser and tried to, fire at you and I was a police with a gun, I would probably shoot as well. But there's not much you can do to upgrade gas masks, Red Right Hand. I mean, it's not like you can buy retrofitting kits for them. I mean, you can sometimes buy, like, polycarb outserts for old masks, but... Anyway, I'll finish the stream here, but for the most part, this has been very civilized, and I thank you all. It's been enjoyable, and thank you for the person who gave me the donation. I really appreciated that. I don't know if you want me to put it towards more beer, but I wouldn't mind putting it towards more beer. So, if you are not streaming then tonight, I will definitely watch Terrifier tonight, Mike, because I keep meaning to watch it and keep forgetting to watch it every night. I've been playing some more of that Detroit Become Human, Mike, and it's diverging quite a bit from where yours did so far, with what's happened with some of my characters, which makes it quite interesting. All right, see you all. All right, good night all. Thanks, and have a good evening. Stay safe, everybody, and everything. Good night.